Good afternoon and welcome to the 120 session of the Fireside Chat here at CSUN ATC TV broadcast studio. We're going to be having three of these sessions this afternoon, and this is the first one. I'm Dave Gardy from TV Worldwide and an executive producer with WebAble TV. Our first presentation is accessibility issues in education, Fireside Chat about accessibility issues in education. That features Catherine Tipton to my left. To her left is Rachel Cruzel from TextHelp, and by the way, Catherine is from CSUN. Leslie Farmer, also from Cal State University, Long Beach, and Kyle Shackman, who is with Harvard University. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kate.
All right. Welcome and thank you. So just very briefly, I think our panel are going to introduce themselves. My name is Kate Tipton. So California State University, Northridge is also a university. Sometimes I say I'm from that CSUN, the other CSUN. And I will be asking our panel some questions today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rachel.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Cruzel. I work for a company called TextHelp. I've been with TextHelp about 4 years as our higher education specialist. Prior to working at TextHelp, I did spend 10 years in higher education working with assistive technology, digital accessibility, students with disabilities in general, kind of across campus, and I'm excited to be here today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Leslie Farmer. I coordinate the Teacher Librarian Program at another campus in the California State University system, the one at Long Beach. I also manage the ICT, Information and Communications Technology, community for Merlot, which is an OER repository. And my life began in terms of workplace in high school, K-12 education.
Hi, I'm Kyle Shackman. I'm the Director of Digital Accessibility Services at Harvard University. And so I get to work with an awesome team to help make sure anyone with a disability can have access to all the technology resources that help contribute to our teaching and research mission of a large university.
All right. So our first question for our panel. Bear with me, I can see you or I can see the questions. So we've talked about this already this week. I think there's no question that executive support is critical to digital accessibility initiatives. What strategies have you used or heard of to gain buy-in and tangible support from executive leadership? Who wants to start?
I'm happy to take it. I think the way to build and marshal resources should always start based on the needs of people with lived experience with disability, right? And so making sure we're meeting the needs at our institutions of students with disabilities, faculty members, staff members, right? We need people in all of those roles with disabilities to make sure that we have an inclusive, welcoming community and that we get the benefits of all of those people to do our teaching and our research and our communication with the world. So making sure that our work is grounded in that is critical. And then we always have the broader considerations, right, of legal considerations or regulatory matters, right, that are kind of externally imposed. So there's a tension, but both of them pulling in the same direction of doing the right thing because we want and need everyone's participation, and then making sure that we're living up to our legal obligations as institutions.
Another thing I think that Kyle brings up is the importance of having targeted communication with those that are decision makers. So you're going to have a different approach to someone who's the president as opposed to a dean, et cetera. And in each of those cases, a lot of times they just aren't aware, of the resources that are possible or the extent of need. And so first making them aware, educating them. And again, as Kyle says, the more that we can share those experiences, share what the possibilities are, the relative advantage of those, and including how does that kind of approach really benefit those decision makers. And then what are the tools available, help them to kind of work out the logistics so that it's convenient for them and it's to their advantage, to provide those resources and allocate them to those who need it.
I think one of the big things is anytime you're doing change making in an institution, school, organization, company, it's really finding who those change makers are, who are those early adopters, who are those innovators that you can really help make that information well known, who can be your champion. So it's not just you that are continuing to advocate for what it is that we're hoping for. You're having other peers listen to peers, people, faculty are going to listen to faculty a little bit more, teachers are going to listen to teachers, administrators are going to listen to administrators. So how do we find who these key people are on our campuses to help us spread that word and really championing them with the resources to help them partner with you on this as well?
I love that, Rachel. And one of the things I always try to do is have something that someone can say yes to. And so some of those asks might be really big, audacious asks, and some of them really might be small and something that an individual can do, but never let an opportunity go without having a chance for them to say yes to something in support of our work for accessibility.
Do you also want to talk about pilot testing or proof of concept?
I mean, sure, right? Universities are labs of innovation in all forms. And so kind of eating our own dog food, so to speak, and making sure that in accessibility, we're piloting innovative programs, demonstrating successes where we can, telling stories about how we're improving the lives of our students, faculty, and staff. That helps, nurture and grow seedlings of innovation and opportunities that can expand into bigger programs.
And I also want to push on the idea of data-driven decision-making.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes that's another way to convince them. So if you can find out, what the status is right now, do systems analysis, see where the gaps are, or how that fits into your goals, and then being able then to use those pilot projects, for example, to say, oh, this actually made a difference in students' retention and graduation. That's another really good strategy.
So of course we're talking about strategies to build executive support. So what I am hearing from the panel is some techniques that maybe have worked on your campus or in your organizations, piloting programs, getting data, but also stories out of those pilots and being able to share that up to the executive tier. Am I hearing that correctly, that those are anything you want to add on those strategies?
I think making it humanistic as well, I think is really important. As much as this is standards and kind of protocols that we have to do, there's a humanistic aspect behind accessibility. We want to make our communities more accessible. We want people to feel belonged. They want to be more inclusive. And I think that helps people relate as well. I mean, disability is not something that is not uncommon. We all know somebody, it intersects with all of our lives. So how do we make that connection to get people with that buy-in as well?
I agree completely, Rachel. So many people we see in leadership positions in organizations, including higher education institutions, that really buy into accessibility. It comes out of either their own lived experience or a family member, someone close to them with disability, and just having an innate connection and an understanding of course this is important. My child or my parent or my partner needs that inclusive access, and so we should just do it. And so finding those ways that we can tell stories, and so it doesn't require someone to have that experience, right? That it's just a known, of course we would want to do that for everybody, whether or not they have that particular life experience.
Well, and like you said, Kyle, there's a time and a place to lean on the legal, but if we can get people to buy in with it being the smart and the right thing to do, it's just going to help us move this work forward faster, better, and then lean on legal when we have to, of course.
And we also talked about the importance of involving the whole campus, that it isn't just a disabilities services thing. Yeah, we really are talking about universal design for learning, so it isn't like us and them, but it's all of us. And it's not just the instruction, but it's also transportation, health issues, dorms, all of us are impacted. And the more that we see this as a whole community of support that basically is pushing for achievement for not only the students, but also for the faculty and also for the staff, as well as the community in which you serve.
So, building on that point, I think we agree, or our goal is that our educational institution or organization, that we all have a stake in accessibility, but in 2024, we're not doing that without corporate partners. I'm going to call them vendors, although I've had a whole conversation at CSUN, the university, this year about what does vendor mean, but I'll save that one for questions after, for the hallway after. So technology and essential services that are provided through vendor partnerships are key to our educational institutions for instruction, but also, to your point, for operational work. How do we partner with our vendors to ensure the tools we are purchasing are accessible, while also ensuring and supporting those vendors to create or move toward accessible tools?
I'll let someone else take this one first, being the vendor on the panel here,
right.
and I'll provide my feedback
Okay.
in the end.
But I can start out with the concept of this conference right here. So anyone who is a vendor in the broadest sense, and you are in this particular room, thank you very much, because that's one way to develop relationships, is to find out what the needs are and then being able to then provide them. So it's a really authentic marketing tool that you are using. And if you're not in this room, but you're in this conference, in the exhibit hall, thank you very much. We also, as service providers, then really need to step up our game and be proactive as well in developing those relationships, because it's not just a financial transaction, but it really is a relationship that should be stable and growing. And you'll get to the point where earlier on in the development of one of the services or the products, that they then call upon disability service staff or folks that are serving students with disabilities, that you're going to have a product as a result that's going to do a better job of addressing those issues. And guess what? You'll be more competitive. You'll probably make a better profit. So, and as well as it benefiting your target audiences.
Yeah, I mean, we rely on a huge number of third parties to create and produce all of the content, especially at large universities, but across no matter what size your institution is. I always like to say our faculty come to our institutions because they are experts. They've spent their lives perfecting a craft in a really specific domain. They might be a great epidemiologist or legal scholar or archaeologist, right? Whatever their discipline may be. I don't want them to need to be a quasi-digital accessibility expert to publish an accessible research paper, syllabus, social media posting about their work. We are failing them as a community or as with vendor partners if we're saying you've got to learn these 75-step incantations to create an accessible product that teaches your students, right? So we both rely on our vendor partners and constantly need to be pushing more that make it easy by default for content to be created accessible, because the amount of content we are producing at universities increases almost exponentially over time, and we're only making future problems for ourselves unless that content is created accessible from the start.
So having worked for 10 years with vendors and now being on the other side of the table for about 4 years, I think what I've seen on both sides is just the passion of the vendors that work in this field there's not a single company that doesn't have, again, some type of connection like Kyle talked about a few minutes ago to disability or to accessibility or having that innate buy-in and reason why they're connected in this field. So I think the really big thing is seeing them as partners and how do we partner with you? And that's what more of the narrative is becoming from that vendor side of things of, it's not just a transactional product. It's not just, paying for a service. It's really, how do we support what your mission is on your campus? How do we support these bigger things that you're going after to ultimately help your entire campus community, whether that's college or university, K through 12 district or school? I think that's one thing that we sometimes get caught up in is, yes, vendors are that transactional piece, but ultimately, there's almost always that bigger picture and that bigger mission, vision, value behind why that company is doing what it's doing, ultimately help you all do the work that you're doing to make our communities more accessible.
I'm surprised that there still are some universities that don't have like a procurement checklist or criterion, because that really helps when you're trying to look for vendors that can provide you the materials that will be accessible. And having those policies, from the top down in terms of making sure that when a faculty person is thinking about a software, that there is a procedure for it to guarantee that it will be accessible. So again, I've seen cases where, vendors do really rely on those checklists to make sure that their materials will, meet the criteria. And we also talk, there's also the issue of scalability. So if there is a product like an online learning management system, if you're part of a large system, or even maybe a statewide initiative, you probably have more leverage in order to incentivize vendors to make sure that their products are as accessible as possible.
That's a really great point, Leslie. And one of the things we'll find sometimes is that in particular sectors, there'll be between 1 and 3 dominant players that'll be the real kind of primary consideration that we have for vendors. And often there won't be a ton of incentive or not enough incentive apparently to have those companies really compete on accessibility. And there is a lot of opportunity, I think, for vendors or for newer upstarts. If you can differentiate your product on accessibility and making all of our lives easier, we would love to look at you more, seriously and positively and have an accessible by default option because that would make all of our lives easier.
Well, and it's the way of the future. Accessibility is not going away. It is how you can differentiate yourself in such a robust and competitive market. It's just what you have to do in order to continue to grow as a business. And I see that from the vendor business side of the house. It's something, it is just baked into our society today. Disability is not going away. Accessibility is becoming more and more important every day. It's really essential in how we operate.
I just want to sort of ask a follow-up and bring it a little bit into the student experience as our students are returning to campus from virtual learning. And remembering my student days, that means our students are looking for parking, and then they're looking for food. If they live on campus, they're interacting with housing systems. I think somebody told me that the laundry has a digital component. Laundry informations in the dorms may have a digital component. So do you have anything to add about, I could talk about instructional materials all day long and the web all day long, but some of these student experience systems and ensuring that the complete student experience is accessible and leveraging procurement to do that.
Sure. One of the reasons I find it helpful working at a large university, coming to a conference like CSUN, is that we are all here thinking about and working on accessibility across so many different sectors, right? My university has a credit union. I find the sessions from financial institutions beneficial in what I'm doing. I find the ones for healthcare great and insightful because we have healthcare clinics and medical schools that we service and have students and practitioners that are working in our environment in those fields. You mentioned parking, laundry. We heard in the keynote this week, ordering food in a cafeteria. All of those services, right? We're mini cities in a sense. And so that totality of service, teaching and learning, primary, that's why our students come to our campuses. But we don't want to say you can only come to class. You can't go get tickets to that concert or the football game or whatever the case might be, right? We want them to have that total experience of all of the services that we provide as institutions, no matter the size.
And I think it's important that we fall back on process. What is our process? What are the procedures? What are the tools we have in place to audit and check in and recheck and make sure that what we're doing is accessible? And if we're adopting something new, what does that look like? How are we really vetting it to make sure that we're baking that accessibility in from the start? That's really key, so we're not retrofitting processes.
And then more generally, having campus-wide and system-wide policy that kind of anchors all of what we do.
That's a great point. We started talking about leadership buy-in, right? We can't only have the director of instructional technology considering this matter, right? It matters our facilities, our financial organizations, our student services, the full gamut of our services and what we provide to our communities has to think about it. And that's why turning those leadership actions into systemic processes is what really moves the needle.
And then that way you don't have to depend on one particular person staying at your campus, but
Right,
that
you
it
can
is
never leave.
institutionalized.
Yeah.
All right. It's 2024. And it's almost, I have to say AI because it's 2024. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere at this conference. It's everywhere at my university, that's for sure. I'm going to try to ask something a little more specific. How can AI support our educational institutions from an access perspective and a technology perspective? How can these tools support the work of accessibility at our schools and campuses? And is there anything we need to be mindful of?
I'll go ahead and start. Because I am a professor and coordinator for a program, a lot of my work has to do with instructional design as well as the implementation of that. And certainly AI has now become part of the learning management systems, and there are many tools. So oftentimes we think mainly about ChatGPT, maybe DALL-E and a few things like that. But also, there are a lot of plugins in learning management systems, such as LiZone, which really helps faculty to have alternate format opportunity features with any content. And certainly, AI is getting better about actually helping to make content itself more accessible, which is really important for our students. Of course, in the process, even in terms of lesson design, you can actually use AI to kind of give you some starters for thoughts on how you can make your instruction more accessible. Don't depend on the AI, understand, but at least it kind of gets your brain starting about, oh, I could do this kind of accommodation. So again, a lot of instructors aren't really schooled or trained in a lot of the accommodations. So getting some of that beginning thoughts is important, although you still have to worry about AI hallucinations, so you do have to still be creative thinkers as far as that goes. One specific tool that is kind of interesting is the idea, again, this is for folks who might have vision impairments, is that you can use an AI tool that will take that image and then be able to, quote, translate it or transform it into text. So that's really useful. AI is also getting better for translation. It's getting better in terms of the closed captioning. There's a new product within Zoom that can do AI enriched transcriptions and summaries. So those are, some broad pieces and some, specific examples.
Like you said, Kate, we have to talk about this. There's so much to respond to. I think of it in two primary ways is what we do, right? In education institutions, going back, teaching and learning is our primary reason for being, right? It's the core mission of what we do. And so just like any other new technology that comes along, those of us working in accessibility have a responsibility to make sure that those tools and the applications and their integrations are accessible, because when faculty members or instructional specialists or students are experimenting with these technologies, learning how to use them, creating their future potential, we want to make sure students and professors with disabilities can be in there from the ground floor just as well and aren't getting locked out because a new product says, well, we're coming out now, but in 6 months we'll work on accessibility, right?
Right.
That's from the get-go leaving students with disabilities behind. Unfortunately, I think that's still sometimes the case, right?
Yes.
We've got to go, we've got to meet the biggest market we can right away. We'll get to accessibility, don't worry about it. And when we have the opportunity with newer technologies, we want to make sure it's not the case, so we're not preventing those students from accessing learning. And then from those of us as accessibility professionals, right, how we can use it to do our work better. As Leslie mentioned, it can help supplement and check work that we do, and we still need to make sure that as the experts, we are interpreting what it's doing for us correctly. One of the developers on my team recently was experimenting, and the Gen AI product they were using was inventing new success criteria. And I'm sure we'd all love to see what hypothetical AI, WCAG 2.3 is, but right now we want to make sure that we're addressing the responsibilities that we have today, and that's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're using those tools responsibly in making sure they are doing so.
But it's also a really fun time to get to see how these tools are radically changing things like assistive technology, how it's being built in, how it's really elevating the type of access that people with disabilities are getting to the world around them, making things much more user-friendly, making it more accessible from the ground up, and really being able to analyze, where are the gaps in the market right now, where are the gaps in the supports that we're providing to our individuals with disabilities, and how can AI fit that gap that 2 years ago we weren't able to do. There's this big need that students are saying when it comes to course access or campus access or school access, and we're not able to provide that 2 years ago, but now we can because of this technology. How do we get that in there, making sure it's accessible to meet this need that's been there, that's always just sort of been a gap in what we can provide based on where technology is today. And then obviously thinking about where does this go 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, because obviously AI is not going away anytime soon. It's only going to become more robust and more prevalent in the world around us.
And we've been talking mainly about like software and to a little degree hardware, but I'm also thinking about AI robots and how they might be used in order to teach social skills for folks that are on the spectrum. So it's a fascinating time. There's so much is possible, and again, as you say, baking in the accessibility features from the get-go just helps everybody.
Oh, y'all look at me? All right. So I almost feel like I had to say AI, but now I want to go in the other direction. What topic is accessibility issues in education? What have we not heard about this week that we should be talking about? And what do you think we're going to be talking about at this conference a year from now?
I haven't seen a whole bunch on XR, AR and VR. Yeah. So I'll be really interested to see how AI plays into that. And just in general, how do we make virtual reality and augmented reality more accessible?
I think there's always, especially at a conference like CSUN, opportunities for more sessions related to how we address inaccessibility folks with cognitive impairments. That's a huge opportunity. We probably overrepresent on sensory disability accessibility, important as it is, and as much as I'm into that myself. And then I think in the coming year, especially in the education space, we're going to be talking a lot about the state of affairs as it comes to regulation, with potentially Title II of the ADA regulations coming, Health and Human Services potentially, and deferred, probably not, Section 504 regulations, but how all of those are going to impact our institutions and how are we going to adjust to those in the coming years. I think that's going to be a lot to figure out and a lot to learn.
What pairs with what you just said, Kyle, is this idea of neurodiversity. It's something that's always kind of been rumbling in the background, but it's really exploded in regards to the workplace. I know we're not talking about workplace in this session much, but I see that as a really big trickle-down effect to education. We're already starting to see it from a higher education perspective. Recent stats are saying somewhere around 20% of students in college are identifying as neurodiverse. We're hearing things like Gen Zers, about 50% of them are identifying as being neurodiverse. So this is something that's just slowly building in the background, and that really fits into that kind of category of how are we supporting our learners with cognitive disabilities. I think it's, again, always been there, always sort of understanding, but it's just been this wider kind of acceptance of neurodiversity in our world over the last couple of years, and I think that's something we're going to see a lot more about. It's something that our companies are going to be focusing more about, our educational institutions are going to be focusing more about, and really that tears with this idea of, yes, accessibility, but how are we making our workplaces and our schools more inclusive at the end of the day? How do we take into account this wider variability of who it is that we are engaging with and the intersectionalities that all of us are bringing to our educational institutions, to our workplaces, kind of to those places that we go every day.
I love that, Rachel, and it makes me think, there's also the just broader notion to expand further. What is an education institution and who do we serve? We all work at pretty traditional education institutions, students seeking degrees, right? Learning is a lifelong pursuit, and more students are going to colleges and universities at beyond the age of 22, right? It's not what people might consider a traditional quote-unquote student. And so how are we meeting the needs of those students, including their accessibility needs, and learners coming back to higher education later in life or to transition to new careers, and how are we meeting their needs as a community and making sure that it's easy for people to come in and come out of education opportunities in a more fluid manner than 4 years between the ages of 18 and 22.
It really is the direction that higher education is going, is this more flexible model, and we as institutions need to meet those individuals where they're at. Dually enrolled students are becoming a hugely popular population that higher education institutions are trying to get to come in to do some pre-college work before they officially graduate. Those returning learners, workers who are coming in to get some upskilling if they're deciding to change careers or change career paths, or they necessarily went right from K through 12 to the workplace and then decided this is actually the field I want to go into. And the online hybrid learning, I mean, the variability just keeps growing, and our institutions are going to have to evolve in that way and meet these learners where they're at.
And in fact, both of you kind of like point to some of the other kinds of opportunities, and that is badges, micro-credentials, certificates. And so, we're talking about that at our institution, and I have to say, the word accessibility has not popped up in the conversation at all. When you do those alternative pieces, let alone informal learning, libraries as possibilities and as links, as parts of the university, how does that play in as well? So,
Look at all those opportunities out there.
absolutely.
And I am admittedly a little biased toward higher education, but Rachel reminded me that accessibility and issues in education expands from really early childhood education through our lifelong learners. Is there anything you'd like to add about the K through 12 space?
I don't think it's radically different. I mean, the ages are different, but the issues are the same. I think what we see from kind of a pattern perspective is higher education is really at the forefront of things around accessibility. It's something that K through 12 is really starting to ramp up. And again, they're really leaning on this idea of universal design for learning and kind of this inclusive educational model, but getting more of this kind of the regulatory accessibility is going to be key in the years ahead, leaning more on what Kyle was talking about with, updates of regulations and these, more of that kind of tangible standards and things like that. It's something that education from a K through 12 perspective is going to have to pay more attention to moving forward.
And I would say that the IEPs is probably one thing that really differentiates, higher ed education from K-12. So those independent, individualized educational plans, how are some of these newer technologies going to be folded into that? How does AI kind of become then part of that plan? So there's a lot in that area. And again, all those faculty then need to be trained in terms of how that's going to impact their curriculum as well as their instruction.
And I think there's just huge opportunity for us to partner between K through 12 and higher education. For so long, we've sort of existed in these silos. How do we start to work across those two systems and really say, we're in the same city, we're in the same state. How do we make sure that what we're doing is complementary to each other? What can you bring to the table? What can we learn from you in K through 12 versus higher ed? How do we acknowledge that these students are eventually coming from one institution to the other and make sure that we've got these systems in place, we have technology in place that students are going to be able to access and also know that that content that they're engaging with, our institutions that they're going to, are accessible in as many ways as possible. Again, whether it be that digital or even just like what we talked about, the food service and the laundry service, making sure that that total infrastructure is one that's welcoming and inclusive for our students.
And I think a core target on that are students who have to do a transition plan, when they're like 16 and thinking about graduate, because again, they need to think about self-advocacy and how can technology help them. They need to be able to make sure that they can leverage accessible technology for their daily lives, whether it's the housing issues or transportation or how do you apply for a job, all of that kind of thing. And making sure then that those folks that are working with those students are knowledgeable themselves about what are accessible resources and services out there for their students.
So they only gave us 40 minutes today. If you are interested in continuing this conversation, what are some opportunities to do that, Kyle?
Thanks, Kate. I'll give a shameless plug to our EDUCAUSE IT accessibility group. It's a practitioner community of folks who work in higher ed IT accessibility. We have asynchronous discussion forums, and we meet on the first Wednesday of every month, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you join. We've got 100 to 150 people minimum a month that are joining and sharing best practices and collaborating and occasionally commiserating. So it's a great community, and new members are always welcome, so we'd love to have you.
And another shameless plug, there is a Birds of a Feather education lunch tomorrow. I will be there, so if you'd like to continue the conversation, please, and you're here tomorrow, please join us for lunch tomorrow. With that, again, my name is Kate Tipton. I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank our panel for your answers. Any final thoughts to close us out?
I think it's just an exciting time to be involved in accessibility and technology, to really be at this crossroads of where we can go and start to get creative and really make our communities more accessible.
I'd agree with that, especially when you think about AI. It's still on the ground floor, in terms of, the market. And so we can really make a difference. And I think we should let our students know that they are, in that spot where they can advocate for more accessibility, because there are those greater opportunities and options.
I'd say the strength of our community working in accessibility is the people, all the awesome people that work in this space and are always coming up with new things. So especially at a conference like this, find someone that you don't know, meet them, learn about them, and let's find ways to work together to make the world a better, more accessible place.
Thank you.